Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Well, sorry for disturbing you on this weekend at a earlier time rather than the scheduled time. And at the same time, thank you for accepting this. Now, coming to the topic with respect to unstructured grid, we said that there are two ways to create the triangles in case of your unstructured grid. One is your creating the nodes within the domain, that is what we say as nodalization. Then using those nodes, we have to create the triangles. That is what we say triangulation. And as such, there is no single method for both of them. So depending upon the problem requirement, people have created different algorithms for creating the nodes as well as creating the triangles out of the nodes. So we are just trying to learn the concept of your nodalization using the traditional way, and in which we said that if you have a domain of irregular shape, it may be simply connected domain or doubly connected domain. Whatever may be the case, the first task is to place the nodes on the boundaries. And in order to place the nodes on the boundary, the first task is you just put the nodes in an appropriate manner such that you will avoid any such addition or deletion of your control volume. If so, also that is to be on a lower side. And once you place the nodes on your grids, is on your boundary, then we will number them, and the numbering is counterclockwise for the outer boundary, whereas clockwise for the inner boundary, if any. Now, with that, if you get a number of boundaries on the number of nodes on the boundaries, and then you join those nodes sequentially, then you number those edges which are created by joining the nodes on the boundaries, and then the next task is to find out the y minimum and y maximum of the domain. And once we know the y minimum and y maximum of the domain, then we divide that y max minus y minimum by the average length of the edges which are formed on the boundaries. And with that help, we'll get a number n. That means we will divide the whole domain into a number of sectors with the help of some horizontal lines, as it is shown in this particular figure. Then once we create those nodes, it may not be possible to get the number n as all the time equal to an integer. Then in that case, you just manipulate little bit here and there so that it will be an integer. Then accordingly you find out your average. Then once you get that average value, then you place these horizontal imaginary lines within the domain. Then once you got those lines, then the next task is to find the point of intersection of these lines with the edges. Now for that reason, let us say the y equal to d is one of the lines of consideration. Let us say this is the particular line which we are talking about. So the point of intersection is given by this one. So in order to find out where it is intersecting, the logic what we have applied is this one. If it is intersecting a line, I, K, then definitely it should satisfy this criteria, because when it is intersecting in between the edge, then the intersection point I coordinate will be either less than or greater than any one of them. Then in that case, the product of these two should be zero, less than 0. So that is the case when it is passing through the edge ik. But if it is passing through the edge point itself for the edge ik, whether it is I or k, in such cases you will get this condition equal to 0. But in that case, there are two possibilities. Either it will pass through I, either it will pass through k. Then which of this one will be treated as intersecting ik is given by this one. Like say for example, in this case, if it is passing through I, then d equal to yi, and other case d is greater than yk. So that is satisfying this criteria, this one. That means this particular edge, if it is passing through I, then we can say that this is intersecting edge ik. But if you say this is the case where y equal to or d equal to yk, another one is d is less than yi, because if it is here, it is less than yi. So that is not satisfying this one. So we can't say this particular edge is intersecting your edge ik. So only and when it is intersecting your edge of the endpoints of the edge, and that too the intersection point y coordinate is less than the y coordinate of the other end of the edge, then only it will be treated as the intersection to that particular edge. So once the criteria is set, then we will say that okay, this particular edge is part of your ik. This is not the part of your ik. Then next task is if it is intersecting, anyway y coordinate is equal to y coordinate equal to d, because that is what the line we have drawn. Then we will find out the x coordinate using this particular equation. Then there is a possibility that you may have an intersection of this y equal to d at even number of points, or it may have an intersection at odd number of points. Like these are the lines which are even number of points, like this one, 1, 2, 3, 4 points of intersection. So if you have even number of points, then we say intersection is even number, we say that as qualified lines. But if you have a odd number of intersection points, then we say as those lines as unqualified lines. Unqualified lines. And those unqualified lines should be discarded from your nodalization. But the problem is, if you discard those lines, then the number of lines will decrease. At the same time, some zones will be there where the gaps between the lines will be more. So in such cases, the grid generation or the nodes which are placed may not be so uniform. So in order to avoid that situation, what we will do, we will just manipulate the things a little bit here and there. Like one of the case what we have shown it here is this one, where this imaginary line y equal to m is passing through this particular edge 7, 8. Is passing through this particular edge 7, 8. That means both 0.7 and 0.8 y coordinates are equal to d for that particular line. So they may satisfy the second criteria, but the problem is both are having y equal to d. So that does not satisfy the second criteria. For that reason, what we have to do, we will change the position of this y equal to m to a position where y equal to m plus alpha times of L average, little bit towards the higher side. So by doing so, what happens? Now the intersection point is a single point rather than passing through 8, 7. So because of which, the problem whatever we are encountering previously is now avoided. That means now this particular line is having 2 points of intersection rather than 3 points of intersection. So likewise, we have to overcome the situation. Now once we overcome that situation, Then the next task is we have to see the points of intersection and we have to arrange those points in a manner such that they have the increment of their x coordinate. Like for example, this y equal to h line is intersecting the boundaries at 4 points B, D, C, A. So the numbering should be done in such a manner B followed by D followed by C followed by A. So the point of intersection may be ABCD, but the order in which the points are arranged are B, D, C, A. That is on the basis of their increment of your x coordinate. So once we arrange all the points of intersection in the increasing order of their x coordinate for all the imaginary lines, then the next task is to place the intermediate grid points within the lines. So in order to place those intermediate grid points, we will place the intermediate grid points between two intersection point and ensure that those two intersection points are lying within the domain. Like for example, DC does not lie within the domain. This is outside the domain. So that intersection zone is not of our choice. So whatever is our choice is for this particular line y equal to h is B to D and C to A. So once we know the zone between the intersection point B to D and C to A, now the next task is to place the intermediate grid points across this line. And to place this intermediate grid point, what we will do, we will take a value or length of your choice. Now here it is taken as beta times of L average. L average is already known, so beta is a user defined value. Let us say we will fix this beta as half of your 0.5. Then if you place it, if you put it here, that means half of the L average will be the gap between two successive points in this zone. Two successive points in this zone. So once you place it, those 2 points or those points with a gap of beta into L average in this zone B to D as well as C to A, then that way you finish for all the grid points. Like for example, for y equal to h lines, you are getting 5 points P1, P2, P3, P4, P5. So likewise, you can carry out for all the grid points. Now, once it is over for all the grid points, then by doing so, it may so happen that let us say you have a line like this, 1 to 2, and you are placing the grid points in sequential manner. Let us say the last grid ends up somewhere here. Then in such cases, you have to check with respect to this particular last point that whether that point will be accepted or not. So in order to do so, what we will do, this is one of the intersection point, means through that there is one edge which is passing through. Let us say the edge is ik. Now if it is intersecting at point 2, let us say this point is your P. So you have to check whether this particular point will be kept in further triangulation or it has to be removed. So in order to do so, what we have to do, we have to check for this particular criteria. That is length of ik square. Is it greater than length of ip square and plus length of pk square? Now this sort of situation comes, for example, if you have a triangle like this, let us say this angle is 90 degree, ik and p. This particular condition will be satisfied when this angle is less than 90. If this angle is equal to 90, then it will be equal. If it is greater than 90, then in that case this won't be satisfied. If this angle is greater than 90, it won't be satisfied means now the P position is point is coming towards inside. That means this P will be now closer to this edge IK, having an angle greater than 90. So such situations should be avoided, or those sort of points should be discarded. So for that reason, the logic is you take this sort of constraint. If it is satisfied, then it is okay. Sorry, if it is satisfied, then you remove those points. If it is violating this criteria, then you retain those points. So depending upon that, we will decide which of the points should be kept in your calculation or for the triangulation, and which are the points which has to be discarded. So likewise, we will go for a check for all the points which are generated. Especially this happens with the last point of your creation in a line. Others anyway, they are placed far away from your edge. So there is no problem as such. Only problem comes with this particular point. So once this sort of points are removed, then you have a clear cut of nodes generated within the domain. That means that completes your nodalization. Is it clear?
Clear, sir.
Okay. So now once nodes are created within the domain, now the task is to create the triangles out of these nodes. So that is known as your domain triangulation. That means we have to create the triangles out of the given nodes. There are various schemes are available, because as I said, every person try to create a own algorithm for his problem under consideration, so that it will be effective as well as efficient, because he wants to minimize the time to create the triangles. At the same time, he wants that it should be very efficient, so that there may not be any problem in case of your numerical calculation, and at the same time he won't lose any sort of reality from your original geometry. So that's why people will try to create different schemes depending upon their choice. So it's not possible to discuss all the schemes whatever is available in literature. So what we will do, we will try to address you few of the schemes. Like for example, here in this particular domain triangulation, we will discuss about your advancing front method as well as Delaunay method. These are two traditional ones, and those two techniques are very important in the sense it is quite easy to make you yourself understand what you mean to say. And secondly, that is some sort of what we can say that it is the preliminary ways of creating the triangles out of the given set of possible triangulation methods which are available in open domain. And whenever we are discussing, we will try to address both the things, that is advantages and disadvantages of both the schemes, and when you will go for this, when you can go for that, and why to go for one upon the other. So coming to the first method, that is advancing front method. Now in case of your advancing front method, the advantage of this one is it is very simple and straightforward to implement. It won't take that much of logical approach to implement. It is relatively easy to implement for numerical applications. It is easy to implement in the sense it is a straightforward thing for creating the triangles. And the beauty of this scheme is that it can triangulize concave domains without any difficulty. And the meaning of concave domain is like this. Like for example, if you have a situation like this, now this sort of domain is known as convex, whereas this sort of domain is known as concave. So the most of the schemes, they fail to accommodate this particular thing. Like for example, if you have a node here, if you have a node here, if you join the node here to here, then that means this particular area is added to your numerical calculation, but which is not part of your original domain. So that sort of situation creates some numerical errors in your calculation, and that has to be avoided. That has to be avoided. So that's what we say the problem associated with concave boundaries. But here in advancing front, that can be tackled easily. That can be tackled easily without any difficulty. But the difficulty or the disadvantages of this scheme is it's not so efficient. Why it's not so efficient? Because we are not using any traditional way of creating the triangle. What we are doing is on the basis of the arrival of the points in our algorithm, we will create a triangle using those points. So that's why that is not so efficient. And control over the grid quality is limited. Control over grid quality is limited means, like for example, if you say this particular situation, let us say out of these 4 grid points, one can create triangles in this manner or one can create triangles in this manner. But if you are creating a triangle of this manner, then we say that this sort of triangles will give you skewness, and this has to be eliminated. That means if you have a situation like this, 2 triangles which are adjacent to each other will create a situation of this kind where the minimum angle out of these triangles is less than the minimum angle which is created because of these triangles. So here the minimum angle is little bit on a higher side compared to the minimum angle here in this case. So that means out of these 2 possible situations of creating triangle out of the same 4 grid points, this sort of situation should be avoided. This should be taken into consideration, or this should be the real way of creating the triangles. So this sort of situation is known as your skewness, and that skewness has to be eliminated in any particular triangulation. But that particular characteristics may not be available with your advancing front method. That means the checking whether it is skewed or not, we are not doing that as such. Whatever creation we will create, like say for example, this sort of things created automatically because of the logic, we will moving with these triangles rather than going for this one. So that is what one of the demerits associated with this triangulation method, because of which this is not so popular. But the beauty of this scheme is that if you are a beginner, you can implement this very easily, straightforward. Now let us see the algorithm for this advancing front method with the help of a simple logic or simple figure. We will take a simply connected domain. That means there is no boundary, external boundary within the domain. That means if you squeeze this boundary, it will end up with a point. So that's what the meaning of simply connected domain. Let us say the nodalization is over for this one. We will select a rectangular domain, and these 12 edges are there on the boundary. Yeah, somebody is saying something. Yeah. Is there any issue? Vikas? Paul Vikas. Why don't you mute your microphone? Mute your microphone. Yeah, thank you. So what we have done here is we have selected a simply connected domain of a square shape, and the boundary edges are numbered counterclockwise manner from 1 to 12, and there are 3 nodes are there internally. Just for sake of our analysis, we have taken a simply connected domain with this sort of a situation. That means nodalization is over as such. Now what we will do, we will try to create the triangles using the procedure of your advancing front method. So in order to create this advancing front method, so the interior points, whatever is there, M and O, and the outer points are A to L. So using those edges, the algorithm moves like this. So all the edges along the initial boundary of the domain are numerated in counterclockwise manner, that is starting from 1 to 12 in counterclockwise manner, and then they are placed in an array named as capital N, which contains all these edges, and then we have another array E, which will be used to construct the advancing front method. So we will put those triangles in this particular one, and all the interior nodes are saved in an array called I. So we have now 3 arrays. One is array N, which contains the edges, all the edges, and the numbering of the edges is in counterclockwise manner, and another array E, which will use for your storing your triangles. Another array is I, which contains all your internal grid points or the nodes. So in this case, this I contains M, N, and O. So what we will do, this is your array N, not N, E, not N. So in this particular array E, the last entry is 12. The last entry is 12. So now what we will do, we will try to create triangle using the last edge of your array E. Last edge of your array E. So in order to create a triangle using the last entry of your array E, that is edge 12, that is L to A, we will try to see that which of these nodes M, N, and N are on the left hand side of your edge LA. We'll try to check that out of this M, N, and O, which are on the left hand side of your edge 12, that is L to A. Then we will try to create the triangle using one of the nodes which falls on the left hand side of your edge LA. But when we are searching for the nodes which are falling on the left hand side of edge LA, at that time we will consider all the internal nodes as well as all the boundary nodes also, except this LA. So the search will be done over all the boundary nodes except LA as well as all the internal nodes to check that which of the nodes are falling to the left of your edge LA. To the left of your edge LA. Then whichever falls on the left of your edge LA are known as your qualified nodes. Now the thing is that how to know that which edge is false or which node is false on the edge LA. So for that reason, what we will do, let us say you have a edge LA like this. Edge LA like this. So if you have a vector in the manner L to A, if you draw a vector in the direction L to A, and if you take a unit vector in that direction, that means unit vector in this direction, and let us say you have a node here. Node can be anywhere. Just for the sake of your understanding, let us say you have a node here. Let us say node is P. And if you join this edge LA, the beginning point L to this P, And if you take a unit normal in this direction, let us say this unit normal is A cap and this unit normal is B cap. So A cap is the unit normal along the edge LA and B cap is the unit normal along the line LP, where this line LP is created by joining the beginning point of the edge L with the node P which is under consideration. So in this way you are getting two unit vectors A and B. Then if you go for a cross product of A with respect to B, A cross B, if you are getting positive, then we say that this point P is to the left of your edge LA. If you are getting negative, then we say that this point P is to the right of your LA. So this is only possible when this included angle is 90 degree. So if it is goes beyond 90 degree, then that becomes negative and that goes into a situation where it is on the right hand side of your edge LA. Now, if you take this in this direction, those which are falls above 90, if you reverse this direction, they will be below 90. So that's why whenever we talk about an edge, the edge is in generally given in counterclockwise direction, that is L to A with respect to this particular situation. So we say that this edge is L to A. So with respect to L to A, if you consider any points on the boundary, you just ensure that the unit vector for that particular point will be taken from L to that point. Then you go for a cross product and check whether it is positive or negative. If it is positive, then it is good enough and we say that it is on the left hand side. If it is negative, then we say that it is not on the left hand side, rather it is on the right hand side. So that will be disqualified nodes for that particular edge LA. So once we got all the qualified nodes, there may be more than one. So in such cases, then the next task is among all the qualified nodes, one need to select what is the node which is the most suitable node to create the triangle. So in order to check which is the most suitable node, what we will do, we will go for this sort of a algorithm. That is, let us say if you have a node here, let us say this M. So what we will do, we will measure this L to M, A to M, then we will calculate this square of LXL and square of LXA, where X is the node point. Here in this case it is M. So we'll calculate the square of LXL plus square of LXA. Then we will calculate this sort of magnitude for all the nodes which are qualified. So we will calculate this parameter for all the qualified nodes. Then out of this parameter, we will check that for which of those qualified nodes this value is minimum. We will check that for all the qualified nodes, for which of the nodes this parameter is minimum. Then whichever node gives you the minimum value of this parameter, for them we will consider that particular point to create a triangle with that edge. That particular point will be qualified to create the triangle with that particular edge. Out of all the qualified nodes, that will be the most suitable node. And once we get the most suitable node, then using that most suitable node and that particular edge, we will create a triangle. So that is what the logic behind it. So now, for example, three nodes LAX, which are ordered in counterclockwise fashion, are used to form a triangle. So that X is now, in this case, node M is selected as the most suitable, and we have created a triangle LAM. Now again the triangle is named in such a manner that the vertex are numbered in counterclockwise. So the triangle is named as LAM. So using this edge LA, we found that M is the most suitable node which falls on the left hand side of edge LA. So now we have created a triangle using that node LAM. So now we have begun the formation of your triangle. So the first triangle is created LAM. So once the triangle LAM created, now that particular zone under LAM is now triangulated. So what happens? Now the rest of the zone for which this edge LA is no more a part, because that is now created a triangle, and now that part, that zone is not participating in your triangle formation. So what we will do, we will remove this edge LA from your array E, because this is the last entry of your array E. So what we will do, we will remove this edge, and now because of this triangulation, you got two more edges, that is 12 and 13. That is L2M and M2A. These two edges are now added to your array E. Added to your array E. So now what happens? Your array E is updated by deleting edge LA and adding this LM and MA. At the same time, now this point M now comes to the one of the boundary nodes. So this M point is now removed from your internal node array I. Internal node array I. So that's what we will do. So edge 12 in figure at the node M is selected. So how to check that whether it is on the left hand side or right hand side? That logic, whatever I have discussed there, is mentioned in this particular slide. So once we check that it is falling on the left hand side, we will create a triangle. So what happens now? Whatever I said, this is no more part of your advancing front array E. So we will remove this one. Edge LA is removed, and we will include this LM and MO. Sorry, this is MA. MA to your array E. So now this array E becomes 13 edges. So that is what now this array looks like. Previously the 12th one is L2A. Now L2A is removed. That place is taken by L2M, and another edge M2A is now added up. Meanwhile, this point M is no more a part of your internal node. So that is removed from your array I. So now you have only two internal nodes in array I. So now the array which is now updated, the updated array of E, the last edge is your edge 13. So now what we will do, we will try to advance with the help of this last entry of your array E, that is with edge 13, that is M2A. So now what we will do, we will create the triangle using the edge M2A. Procedure remains same. Again, what we will do, we will try to check which of the boundary nodes as well as internal nodes falls on the left of this edge MA. Then out of those qualified nodes, we will select the most suitable node. Then we will create a triangle. So the procedure follows like this. So you will create the next triangle in this manner. Now these two edges will remove from E, and this will add it up. So in this case, what happens? Two edges are removed, one is added up. In the previous case, one is removed, two is added up. But now in this case, edge 1, which is previously numbered as 1, that is also removed. So what we have to do, we have to renumber them. Now this becomes 1, 2, 3, 4, like this becomes 12. So now in this case, what happens? One of the edges of your array E is removed. From 13 it becomes 12, but internal nodes there is no change. As such, there are two nodes are still there. But now the last entry of your array E is your M2B, that is S12. M2B, that is S12. So that becomes your last entry of your array E. So what we will do, we will try to now advance with respect to this edge M2B, and we will try to search that which of these nodes falls on the left of this particular edge E. Likewise, we will continue. Likewise, we will move forward. Okay, so that is what explained here. So once we move forward, we will repeat those steps. That is whatever we have discussed in 4 and 5. We will repeat those steps. But this is a situation like, for example, when you go with your situation like this, where you have created a triangle ECD, but in such cases, all these three edges are now removed from your array E. All these three edges are removed from your array E. That means out of the newly created triangle, you are not getting any edge which is remaining. In the previous case, at least one or two edges are remaining, or one or two are removed, so that you are getting one of the edges of the newly formed triangle as the last edge of your array E. But here in this case, the newly formed triangle is ECD, but all the three edges are now removed because that is not part of your rest of the domain. So that sort of situation is known as your dead end. So if you have a dead end situation, then because all these edges, whatever is formed because of those triangle, belong to array E is now removed. So if all the edges are removed for a triangle, that is what we see as a dead end. Then in such cases, what we will do, the first entry which is retained in the removed or revised array E, now that will be numbered as 1. Again, we will renumber them in counterclockwise manner. Again, we will renumber them in counterclockwise manner. But in doing so, now we have only one internal array, one internal node, and 10 edges on the boundary. Again, the procedure remains same. We will begin with this edge EF and we will try to, edge NE as the last entry of array E. Then using that node, we will try to create triangle. Again, we will search for the qualified nodes, then the most suitable node. Again, we will create the triangle for this edge NE. So this is the procedure which we will adopt to create the triangles within the domain. Now this procedure will continue till you will find that all the entries in array E and array I are eliminated. That means till you have an entry in array E or array I, you have to carry out this triangulation. Once you will find that all the points and interior nodes as well as all the edges over the boundary which are part of your array E as removed, till that time you have to carry out this triangulation process. Once that is over, that is, you will get a null array, then at that time that terminates your program, that completes your triangulation process. So the procedure described in the previous step are continued until all the edges in the list of array E has been removed. As a consequence, the triangulation of entire domain is completed. By the time all the elements of your array E is removed, that time you will find that definitely your array I is also empty by that time. So that terminates your triangulation process. So that is what your advancing front method. Then the next method, which is little bit efficient compared to the advancing front method, is your Delaunay method. Now, since it is efficient, it will overcome the problems associated with the previous one, that is what your grid smoothness or skewness which is present in case of your triangulation cannot be eliminated using advancing front method. We can remove that using this particular method. So that's why this is efficient procedure of connecting a given set of points into an optimum unstructured triangular mesh. That is what we could able to do that with the help of this one. And the most important aspect of this scheme is efficiency. That means whatever triangulation we'll get, that is most efficient triangulation out of this method Delaunay, and the quality of the grid is also good enough. We will avoid the skewness. But the disadvantage of the scheme is that it cannot tackle the concave domain. You can have an example of this one, like for example 1 2 3 4 5 6 is the part of your domain, but by placing this 4 5 6 you are creating a triangle in this manner also, but this is not part of your domain as such. So this comes into picture because the boundary is of this nature. That is what we say concave nature. If boundary is of this nature, then there is a possibility of creating an extra triangle which is not at all part of your domain as such. So that is what one of the difficulty associated with this Delaunay method. So for such domains which occur frequently in practice, triangular elements are generated outside the domain, therefore violating the boundary faces. So that is what the difficulty what is there with respect to this particular scheme, which is one can say that it has to be eliminated by some means. So for that reason, people will take some extra effort to check that whether that sort of triangle of any kind is generated. If so, they will try to eliminate that before they go for solution or the calculation. So before we go in detail with your Delaunay method algorithm, let us just discuss something about a geometrical description which is used in case of your Delaunay method. Now, in case of your Delaunay method, what we will do, we are saying that we are placing the grids within the domain, and those grids what we see as nodes, and using those nodes, the first task is to create convex polygons because we don't want concave. So each polygon is defined, whatever we are creating here in case of your Delaunay is known as a tile, and each tile, that is polygon, at the center of this polygon you have a node which is known as a generating point. Like for example, in this case, this one, like for example, all these are all the nodes. So if you join the nodes, you will get an edge. So in this manner, let us say this point 8 is a generating point, is surrounded by your 7 nodes. Then if you join this point 8 to all those nodes, you will get one of the edges. So altogether you will get 7 edges. Then what we will do in order to create a tile, we will go for perpendicular bisector of all these edges, perpendicular bisector of all these edges. Now once you go for perpendicular bisector of all these edges, then you will get an enclosed domain containing this generating point 8. Enclosed domain along with this generating point 8. And that is known as your tile. That is known as your tile. And the concept of this particular creation of tile is such that since you are using perpendicular bisector, if you take any point within this tile, you'll find that those points are closer to this generating point rather than this outside generating point. You cannot have a point which is falls under this tile for which 8 is a generating point, for which the distance of this particular point from this generating point will be greater than the distance of this one from your neighboring generating points. That will never ever happen. That's what the concept of this particular tile. That means the point within this tile is nearer to this generating point rather than the neighboring generating point. Okay. So that is what the criteria of selecting the generating point within a tile, what we will use for our Delaunay method. That is what the objective basically. Okay. So the Delaunay triangulation that corresponds to the Dirichlet tessellation is constructed by connecting generating points of all neighboring tiles. Now in this case, the so-called creation of the tiles with the help of a generating point, what we say as Dirichlet tessellation or Voronoi tessellation or Hessian tessellation. That's what the terminology used for the tile. In generally, we will say that that as Dirichlet tessellation. Now, once we get those tiles, so once those grid points are there and once we have created those tiles by help of your neighboring grid points, then the whole domain is now occupied by a number of tiles. So to relate this discussion to this particular figure, observe any point inside the tile A. That is, A means for which the generating point is 8 and the edges are A, B, C, D, E, F, G in small case letters. And the surrounding grid points or the generating points are 1 to 7. So you will find that all the points within your tile A, are closer to point 8 rather than 1 to 7. So that is what the main objective behind this particular tessellation. So apart from that, another requirement for Delaunay method is locally equiangular. Now that is what the concept which we will use to overcome the skewness as such. Now in case of your locally equiangular, what happens? Let us say that every convex quadrilateral formed by two adjacent triangles, like say for example, if you take this 8, 4, 5 and 8, 5, 6, two triangles are formed. Now out of these two triangles, there are 6 angles which are generated. Internal angles, this one, this one, this one. And out of these 4 grid points, there is another possibility of creating two triangles like 8, 4, 6 and 6, 4, 5 also. In that case, you have another set of 6 angles which are possible to be created. Then in both the cases, what we will check that the minimum of the 6 angles, in which case is greater, that particular combination of triangles will be retained. That particular combination of the triangle is retained. So greater than it would have been if alternative diagonal have been drawn and other pair of triangles selected. So that's what the objective. The minimum of the 6 angles in two triangles is greater than it would have been if alternative diagonal have been drawn and other pair of triangles selected. So wherever you are getting the minimum of the 6 is greater, then out of these two combinations, we will take that particular combination where this is minimum of the 6 is on the higher side. So schematically, if you go for this particular selection, so whatever we said, 8, 4, 5 and okay, he has taken 8, 3, 4, these two triangles he has considered, 8, 4, 5 and 8, 3, 4. So this is one combination which is already there. So whether to stick to this one or you may have a situation like this, that is 8, 3, 5, 8, 3, 5 and 5, 3, 4. So there is another combination of creating triangle is this two. So out of these two combinations, which has to be kept? So imposing the concept of locally equiangular, out of those 4 points, we can have two sets of triangles possible, two different sets of triangles are possible. Then out of that, which has to be kept in our calculation, that depends upon which is gives you the higher value of internal angle, minimum internal angle. So in this case, this particular combination is giving you the minimum angle which is greater than the minimum angle of this particular combination. So this will be retained. So that is what we say that concept of equiangular. Now in this case, let us say you have already formed the triangle 8, 3, 4 and 845, and we found that the other one is the best one, then we will swap the triangles by changing the diagonal positions from one side to the other side. That is, if the other one is greater, then we will change the diagonal as 84 for this quadrilateral. We will remove this 84 and we will join this 35. Then that becomes your new triangles. One is 835, another is 534. That becomes your triangle if that minimum angle is greater than the previous one. So that sort of changing the diagonal position is known as your swapping. That sort of changing the diagonal position is known as your swapping, which is in generally used along with your equiangular if required. So that is where we could able to avoid the skewness, which is a demerit associated with the previous scheme. So next class we will discuss the whole algorithm in line with this Delaunay method, because if I will start, I may not be able to complete this. So next class we will complete this Delaunay algorithm. Then we will go for your finite volume in line with this unstructured grid. In line with your unstructured grid. So if you have any doubt, you can ask me pertaining to this particular class.
No doubt.
Okay. And I am stopping the recording. Thank you.